Welcome back to Make It Stick. All right, we'll jump into Anki. Surely we got a flashcard, dude. We get a flashcard every single day. Oh, we got 6 today. All right. What is the main idea of Chapter 5, Avoid Illusions of Knowing, in one sentence? Okay. Avoid illusions of knowing. So, we're susceptible to illusions of knowing. Yes. Evolutionary. Brain biases, heuristics. Okay, heuristics, evolutionary brain, easily led astray, easily led astray. Right. Objective understanding of one's own abilities and weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses, what he does and doesn't know, is critical for continuous learning and growing. However, this objective understanding is easily led astray through memory distortions, cognitive biases, faulty narratives, illusions, and common study techniques. Objectively accurate understanding of one's strengths and weaknesses, what he does and doesn't know, is critical for continuous learning and improvement, but this understanding is easily led astray from cognitive biases, illusions, memory distortions, and faulty narratives, as well as common study techniques. 1, 2, 3. There it goes. Aight. Good. What is fluency and why is it deceptive in learning? Fluency is essentially the ease of processing information. It's deceptive in learning because it's often mistaken for mastery when most often it is not mastery. Fluency is the ease of processing material. It feels like mastery, but more often than not, isn't. What are the 14 claims the authors make and make it stick? Dog, what? 14 claims. This is the OG flashcard, essentially. All right, there's a direct relationship. Oh, shoot. Yeah, there's a direct relationship between effort and the amount of learning, but really the amount of effort of a retrieval and the amount of learning. Okay. Effort, learning, 14 claims the authors make. What else we got? Something about retrieval, restudying, review. More effective than retrieval practice. Illusions of knowing, retrieval practice more effective than. All right. Study techniques that are most common. Rereading and reviewing notes are among the most common study techniques across domains, but they are among the least supported by science to be effective. Okay, retrieval practice, that is pulling things from memory, is more effective than rereading and restudying or reviewing notes. Okay, what would be for reviewing notes? Effort, direct relationship and effort. Most common study techniques: review, retrieval. What would 4 be? We've done 3, 4. Dang it, dude. Okay, we said what? We said direct relationship between effort and retrieval and amount of learning. Because the most common study techniques are rereading and reviewing notes. Rereading and highlighting, reviewing notes. Dude, is this going to be the whole time? We're going to spend the whole time trying to make these 14 claims. What else do we have? Interleaved, spaced. Okay, 4. Spaced retrieval practice leads to more difficult retrievals, which feel less effective but are actually more effective because of the amount of effort, cognitive effort, right? Interleaved and varied retrieval practice lead to, I don't know, I can say discrimination skills on this one. The ability to discriminate between closely related things is a skill that can be developed through interleaved and varied practice, and is a skill that leads to more discrimination skills, ability to discriminate among closely related things, more nuanced, articulate understanding in closely related things in the future as well. 6, testing. We are illusions of knowing. We're all susceptible to illusions of knowing, and that testing is a great way to recalibrate our understanding of what we know and what we don't know. 7, this I think was the illusions. This is the discrimination skills, but we've lost that one already, or we've done it. There's no known limit to how much we can learn if we use elaboration. 8, learning styles are not supported by empirical evidence. Actually going more broad with using different resources is more valuable than sticking with just your preferred learning style, apparently. We have not read about that yet, but should be very close if that's the case. The ability to pull out the main points and develop a mental model from those main points and principles and patterns is a skill or characteristic of expertise and mastery, especially expertise of learning, potentially of that subject. 10. Dang, dude. 10. What would 10 be? Oh my gosh. This really makes me wonder if this is worth it doing. Spend so much time doing this, but whatever, dude. Whatever, it's retrieval. Mental models. Essentially a characteristic of this is a characteristic of mastery. You have a mental model, and connecting that mental model with other mental models you have. 11, we can. Learning changes the brain physically. We can become smarter. What else do we got? 12, 13, 14, we're missing some. Illusions of knowing, we got the testing one. Embrace difficulties, we got the direct relationship. Cognitive effort. Interleaved, varied space practice we got. We talk about generation. Elaboration. Something about elaboration. Oh, we already said that, right? There's no limit to how much we can learn if we use elaboration. Was there something about generation? Learning styles. Learning is often misunderstood. I don't know. There's a direct relationship between effort and depth of learning. We got that. People in general are poor judges of when they're learning well or poorly. So that's what we missed. Rereading and mass practice. Mass practice are skills of a skill are the most common study techniques across domains, yet they are among the least effective techniques in most cases. Retrieval practice is more effective than rereading and reviewing the notes. Spaced and interleaved practice retrieval practice lead to what feels like harder and less effective learning. However, this is why it actually leads to deeper learning. So we missed number 2. People are often poor judges of when they're learning well and when they're not learning well. 6, attempting to solve a problem before or perform a skill before learning. It leads to deeper learning once learned. Okay, forgot that one. There is no evidence to support that learning from only your preferred style, example, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or verbal, leads to increased learning. However, engaging with multiple styles appears to improve learning. The ability to discriminate between closely related things, aka the ability to see the underlying principles that make things different, leads to an increased ability to problem solve and see opportunities in novel situations. Interesting. And this skill can be trained via interleaved practice and varied practice. We are all susceptible to illusions of knowing, and testing helps to better calibrate our perception of our abilities. Okay, got that one. All learning requires previous learning such knowledge. Didn't get that one. There's no limit to how much we can learn using elaboration. When using elaboration, got that one. The more information you already know that you can connect new knowledge to, the greater the rate of and depth of learning. Okay, deep expertise / mastery comes from identifying the underlying principles of a subject / resource, creating a mental model of the subject / resource, and connecting that mental model to other mental models. 14, learning physically changes the brain. The structure of the brain, we can become smart. Missed that. Okay. What is an illusion of knowing? An illusion of knowing is essentially a mirage where you think you know something, but in reality you don't. It's a feeling of knowing that a false feeling of knowing that often comes from feelings of familiarity and fluency. False sense of mastery often caused by a feeling familiarity or fluency. Good. What are the 7 tools / habits for calibrating your judgment? Testing / retrieval, pure instruction. 3 would be pure instruction. Oh, it's right there. 3, pure instruction, tools and habits for calibrating judgment. 4 is going to be peer feedback / corrective feedback. 3 is going to be pay attention to the cues in which you're judging your learning. 5 is going to be apprenticeships / teams. 6 is going to be simulation. 7 is going to be mistakes made in the real world, getting experience. Really good. What are the 2 systems of knowing according to Kahneman? The 2 systems of knowing are 1, the automatic system, fast, intuitive, but prone to lots of errors and biases. 2, system 2 is the controlled system. It's much more slow, rational, reasoned, logical, and can train. The system 1. Automatic, intuitive, controlled, slower, reasoning, methodical. Good. That's it for flashcards. All right, that was a lot of recall. We're going to be spending the whole time today apparently recalling. What did we do yesterday then? Okay, we learned about successful intelligence part 2. Right, we would have finished reading the section on structure building. No, successful intelligence. I started the section on structure building, possibly. All right. What did we ever read about? Dynamic testing. That's what we finished. We started dynamic testing, finished dynamic testing. Did we finish successful intelligence? Not exactly sure. I know we started. No, we finished. Okay, so we started and finished dynamic testing and then started structure building. No. Yes, structure building. Rule versus example learning. Structure building, I think. Yep. Okay. So dynamic testing, this section was a section about, Robert Sternberg and this other woman, it sounded like, that I had not heard of before. Started with the G. Grunentau. I don't know what her name was. They developed basically this model of dynamic testing, and it's opposed to static testing, which static testing is traditional academic testing of intelligence, typical of it. So static versus dynamic testing. Static testing is really like, it's only getting a snapshot of what you know right now and how you think right now. So it's really not a great measure of potential to grow. Dynamic testing, on the other hand, solves for that. Dynamic testing is characterized by you are given a test, and then you're basically shown what your weaknesses are, and then you're basically told or guided to improve on your weaknesses, and then you're retested to see how the instruction to improve your weaknesses led to changes in your performance. This is a much better indicator of potential to learn, right? Because you're actually trying to improve on something, and then you actually get tested again. Is that, well, did you learn a lot? Did you not learn a lot? Versus like, what do you know right now? How do you know? How do you think right now? That is static testing. Dynamic testing, okay, we still got that benefit. It's much more focused on growth and improving weaknesses, and ability to increase and become smarter rather than IQ. And traditional intelligence testing being much more about fixed traits and achievements, and compared to like aptitude tests and learning style models, the dynamic testing is much more focused on improving weaknesses than sticking with your strengths. Okay. Anything else? So the section was just really about an introduction to dynamic testing. I like it. An example in the real world is like learning to walk. Learning to do a lot of things through experience is really like dynamic testing. You try, you fail, you try to do something different, or you think about something different, you try something different, and then you try again. All right. Okay. And then we started structure building. Structure building is a learning difference that matters. And so structure building is essentially you get an experience, or you taught something, so you have an experience. And structure building is taking out the main points, key patterns from the experience, and then building a mental model around, from those key patterns and principles and points. So yeah, high structure builders, these people who do more structure building learn better and more. Those who are low structure builders, they actually learn less. They retain too much information, especially that doesn't matter. So that information can't really be used well or reasoned with, connected. All right, let's see if we forgot anything. That was extremely long, chiefly because of that 14 key points the authors make. They make a lot more points than that too. So, all right, structure building. That looks good. All right, so authors still note that with the dynamic testing that there might be a ceiling for potential for people, or there is in different domains and arenas, cognitive abilities, but dynamic testing can get us closer to reaching our potential. I say yes, I agree that dynamic testing can help fulfill our potential more and get better and improve on weaknesses and get improve on our strengths. But I don't think any human has ever gotten close to fulfilling their potential in any arena. So that's just my opinion. I think it's a belief that leads to ever improving abilities. Grigorenko is the woman, Elena. Okay, right. Sternberg believes we are continuously improving and gaining competence through experience and what we're experiencing and practicing and doing and trying. We're constantly gaining more competence. But I guess it's really down to like the rate of gain then. Is really about learning differences. Like what is intelligence? Is how much you learn, or the rate at which you learn, I mean. Okay. Focus on improving weaknesses rather than strength. Okay, better indicator for learning. Okay. Yep. All right, now we're caught up. Right as the day's basically wrapping up. So I'm gonna read for a few minutes, then we'll end the day with a recall. So I'll be back in a sec. All right, guys. So we basically read about an analogy of building a Lego city or village as an analogy for structure building. And so it's kind of like you get this big box and you want to build this city, but say you don't have instructions. Really, they didn't have instructions, but you have an image of what you want to build and the pieces to do it. So you dump out the pieces and you kind of like sort through them first. And you kind of be like, okay, well, these pieces go here. They're going to go with the stadium over here. And this is going to be the hospital. And this is going to be the apartment buildings. And you start laying down the roads and the sidewalks. And you're like, oh, here is the So first you kind of lay down the sidewalks and the roads, and then you kind of like start, these are stadium pieces, these are apartment pieces, these are, hospital pieces, these are restaurant pieces, these are the, park pieces. And so you're kind of like these different areas or big buildings or structures are kind of like the main ideas of a subject. And this is analogous to being in like a new subject where you're first given a textbook and an overview and you're like, so much information, but eventually start building, okay, biology, here's the, genetics, this is a genetics part, okay, this is a cell biology part, okay, this is a human anatomy section, and this is a neuroscience section, and this is a macromolecules section, and this is an evolution section, and so on, and start building up these structures. And this is like, structure building is it's an active conscious process as well as a subconscious process. So yeah, it makes me really think like, am I a structure builder, or am I a low structure builder? Like, am I a low structure builder? This is like day 70 something on one book. Let's get on the second example before I go into that more. But the second example that I read about today was basically a woman who's telling a story, who is telling a story about a 4-year-old boy she knows, and she ends up just talking about all these different events related to the mom and the son of the mom and or like one of the friends of the mom's son, and all these different things and details that don't really matter, and so the point of the story gets lost. And this is a characteristic of low structure builders. So am I a low structure builder? Because I've taken a lot of detail that doesn't matter. I've gone so slowly through this. But at least I feel like I'm drawing out some points. I just don't know why this... I'm a little nervous that I've been taking so long to read this that maybe I'm just a low structure builder. I don't know. Hope not. I don't know how to really say if I'm a high structure builder or a low structure builder. I can tell you about main concepts of subjects that I've consciously tried to build out myself. I'd love to do that. I love to, natural sciences, physical sciences, or physics, chemistry, natural sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, maybe even astronomy and geology, right? And mathematics, you've got algebra, you've got arithmetic, you've got calculus, you've got geometry, you've got trigonometry. I don't know where linear algebra would fit, and then all this other stuff I have never even taken. Or within biology, you've got evolution and genetics and cell biology and ecology. And within like health, human health, you've got, diet and exercise and sleep and other things that you consume, and other things that you do behaviorally, social contact. So I've got these structures. I don't know how deep they go though. If I was to say what are subcategories of evolution, I'd be like, I don't know, natural selection, sexual selection, other modalities, genetic drift, I don't know, mechanisms of evolution, evolutionary history. I guess I already said mechanism of evolution. I don't know. What about make it stick? What are the structures behind make it stick? I would say the chapters are pretty good. It's pretty well structured. Like people misunderstanding that's learning. That's a big idea. To learn, retrieve, that's a pretty big idea. And then along those, you've got variations or additional ways to practice retrieval, such as spaced repetitions, interleaved and varied practice. Somewhere in there, you've got generation and elaboration as also effective learning techniques. Embrace difficulties, as in like desirable difficulties. I guess that's where you could throw elaboration, potentially, and generation, as well as even the mix up your practice stuff. The learning, get beyond learning style stuff. Avoid illusions of knowing. Illusions of knowing, that's a big one. Learning styles as well as learn differences that matter. I mean, this one I do have structures built because I've spent so much time and energy and effort to build out, but I don't know. I do forget a lot of the extra details that don't fit on, so I don't know. Anyway, we went over time today. That's it for today. Talk to you later. See ya.